Good morning. After weeks of delay and missing Trump's own deadline, Republicans are finally putting the reckless reconciliation bill on the House floor. And let's talk about what's in it. $70 billion in a blank check for ICE and Border Patrol with no strings attached. This comes after Republicans already cut health care, food assistance, and they've already given ICE $140 billion in their big, ugly bill. On top of that, this doesn't do a single thing to help Americans with their daily costs of living crisis. The Republican policies have exacerbated along the way. Right now, Americans are struggling to fill up their gas tanks, buy groceries for their families, and afford health insurance. Yet instead of addressing any of these concerns, Republicans are pouring your hard-earned tax dollars into an agency that has brutalized and terrorized communities and even killed American citizens. Republican leadership likes to talk a lot about common sense, but where is the common sense in giving this federal agency essentially unlimited funds without a single reform in place? All the American people have asked, all Democrats have asked, is let's ensure that ICE conducts themselves like a local law enforcement agency with accountability and oversight and rules and common sense. This isn't a radical or extreme idea. It's what the American people have asked for. I look forward to seeing how our colleagues on the other side of the aisle are going to vote. David Valadao, Gabe Evans, Mariannette Miller-Meeks, Ryan McKenzie are going to be forced to explain their votes to waste tax dollars while failing to lower the costs that families are facing. And unlike Republicans, Democrats are actually delivering on things that matter most to Americans. We did it again last week when we passed another discharge petition, the fifth discharge petition through the House, and we're going to pass a sixth one this week. While Republicans fail the American people in the majority, Democrats are stepping up in the minority. But this is how we conduct ourselves and what we can accomplish now. Just think what we can do when we are in the majority. Vice Chair Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. The President of the United States is not well. We can see it with our own eyes. He has tremendous difficulty staying awake on the job. Donald Trump has repeatedly fallen asleep at multiple cabinet meetings, at multiple White House events, at a Memorial Day ceremony, and most recently at a very loud and raucous New York Knicks San Antonio Spurs game last night. The White House needs to come clean to the American people. They need to explain why Donald Trump keeps going to the hospital and why they keep giving him cognitive tests. The American people deserve the truth. The truth is not something we're getting from the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. We now have a screwworm outbreak in multiple states, including Texas and New Mexico. This is a parasite that can cause devastating losses to cattle, raising beef prices. The United States had eradicated this parasite for many, many, many years. And one reason is because we had federal funding for monitoring programs that unfortunately the Trump administration and the DOGE folks cut. And what we learned from DOGE is that it was a massive failure. The people working on it were clueless, naive, arrogant, and lazy. They made no effort to find out about the programs they were cutting, and they cut the very programs designed to prevent screwworm outbreaks. And now we have the Secretary of Agriculture blaming it on the Biden administration. If she cannot accept responsibility, then she needs to resign. And the life cycle of a screwworm is about 14 to 54 days, depending on temperature and humidity. The Trump administration has been in office for over 500 days. This is on the Trump administration. They need to own up to it, and they need to apologize.
Questions? Scott.
Mr. Aguilar, are you concerned that the lies being espoused about California's voting and vote tabulation is specifically designed for November 4th, 5th, and 6th, when the House majority could rest on California's vote count?
It's been pretty clear to all of us that Republicans are laying the groundwork to do anything, and they will say anything to hold power. That's what this is about. The redistricting efforts that they undertook in Texas, their advocacy to dilute black representation in eliminating the VRA, they will do anything to add seats here in Congress. And what they are doing is they are laying the groundwork to challenge the lawful count of ballots this November. But I didn't hear these Republicans talking about that when Ken Calvert overtook Will Rollins after the 2020 election, after I think it was 7 or 8 days it took to count before Ken Calvert had the votes to overtake Will Rollins. Vice Chair and I at the time said, well, whatever the vote count is what we will respect. I just don't understand why Republicans can't bring themselves to say that. This is an accurate vote count. We're just waiting to count all the ballots. We're trusting local and state professionals, which the American people trust to count their ballots. They do not trust Donald Trump to count their ballots. Let's let local officials count the ballots, and then we'll respect the vote.
So I'm glad you called it lies because they are lies. The former Attorney General of the United States, Bill Barr, said to Donald Trump's face that the election conspiracy theories were, quote, bullshit. And in California, I asked people to simply listen to the words of the Republican nominee for governor, Steve Hilton, who said that they've been vigilant and they've seen no cause to intervene in the counting of these votes. And as the chairman said, we just need to wait for all the votes to be counted. And the best analogy is, think of this as, let's say, a football game or NBA game. Election night in California is sort of like a snapshot at halftime. And then you got about another 40, 50% of the mail-in ballots and other ballots to be counted. So the score at halftime is different than the score at the end of the game. Doesn't mean there's fraud. It just means the game was completed. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're completing the vote count, and then we're going to see who wins and who loses.
Bradley?
I understand that the AI Commission came out against the Trahan-Overnolte AI bill. Is that the position of all of Democratic leadership, and is leadership working with Congresswoman Trahan to rework the bill at all?
I'll let the Vice Chair speak for leadership as a member of the committee.
Sure. So I've been working on this issue for a long time, and I welcome a lot more members to get engaged. I think it's terrific that other members are getting engaged. This is a very big and difficult issue. The proposed framework that came out last week, the commission determined that it was not something that would work because there's a lot of issues it does not cover. The commission only speaks for itself. And so it's the 3 commission members. It does not speak for the rest of the caucus, the rest of leadership.
Nick, then Michael?
I had a question for Mr. Lieu, actually. With the AI Commission...
These are my favorite questions. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
With the AI Commission, when might we expect to see some sort of framework, product, idea coming out of them for what you want to do?
Sure. So we're going to continue doing the many meetings that we're doing and meeting with stakeholders in the civil rights community, the labor community, the AI safety community, academia, civil society, industry, as well as members of the caucus. And that's continuing. And by the end of the year, we'll have a framework to propose to Leader Jeffries for when Democrats are in control next year.
Michael?
Sticking with Mr. Lieu and AI, Congresswoman Trahan said that while she respects the work that the commission is doing, this is an issue that requires urgency, and that's why she decided to work with Congressman Overnolte on the issue. Have you had an opportunity to speak with her about kind of the urgency that she is referring to? And I know that you've worked with Congressman Overnolte closely on this issue as well. You both were co-chairs of the bipartisan task force last Congress. Can you just kind of speak to the relationship that you have with those 2 particular members as you all try to look for a path forward on this particular issue?
Shortly after OpenAI released ChatGPT to the world, I wrote an op-ed in the New York Times that was titled, essentially, AI Freaks Me Out. I am well aware of the urgency. Many people are well aware of the urgency. So it's not lost on the people working on this issue that we need to urgently get something done. It also turns out that in Congress, you have to build a consensus. You actually have to get groups and members of Congress and organizations to support what you're trying to do. The particular framework that was released last week got intense pushback from the civil rights community, the labor community, AI safety folks. And so, if we're going to get something done, we need to build consensus and build a coalition, and that's the first step that needs to happen.
Max.
There's been a string of House Republicans who have been seeking higher office statewide and who've lost their primaries recently. We saw Feenstra and Dusty Johnson happen the other week, Chip Roy as well, and there are a whole list of other members. And some Democrats, too, have sought higher office, like Jasmine Crockett, and lost. Do you think voters are rebelling at the idea of lawmakers running for statewide office based on dissatisfaction with Washington, or what's your take on this trend?
To answer your question, no, the vice chair and I are not running for any other office. I appreciate your concern and your asking and your sense of our well-being and our political future, Max. So thank you for that. I think each of them are different, honestly. I do think it's fair to say that voters are frustrated. They're frustrated with both parties. And part of that is driven by the rising cost of living crisis that they're in. And they're taking it out on whoever they can take it out on. Our belief, and based on the data we're seeing, is they're taking it out on House Republicans now and into November. But it's not lost on us that they're frustrated and they're concerned and they're taking it out on everybody. What we need to do, and what Democrats are focused on, is we need to do everything we can to address the cost of living crisis that people are facing. Let's give them comfort for them and their family, and let's make some promises to them and commit to do that, and then do it, and then we can ask them how they feel about our job performance. That's what we want to. That's what we want to do. Unfortunately, this Republican majority is only concerned about making Donald Trump happy, and many of the things that make Donald Trump happy are driving up the costs that people face. And so they're doing this to themselves. Randy Feenstra and Dusty and Chip, they have no one to thank more than Donald Trump. And some of the others who have been successful in primaries probably have Donald Trump to thank about it too. So their fortunes are set to the guy at the top, and he's hurting Americans, and I think that's what we're seeing.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to ask about 2027. If Democrats do retake the House, what would you say are your top 3 priorities for the Congress?
Well, what we have said loud and clear is addressing the cost of living crisis that people are facing. We have Leader Jeffries put together the working groups to talk about, take a deeper dive on these issues. That will frame what become our top priorities from a messaging perspective, but then also from a governing perspective. We have been clear, stamp out the culture of corruption, fix healthcare, lower the costs that people face, cost of goods, cost of child care and elder care, lower the cost of housing. Those are the things that Democrats are concerned about. And so it's tough to say 1, 2, and 3. We treat them all as like 1A, 1B, and 1C. But that is the mix, that is a suite of policy solutions that we think is going to drive down the cost that people face. I left out gas and utilities as well. All of those are front and center in the experience that Americans are having, and that's what our focus will be.
Building off of Maeve's question, actually, that sounds like a lot of the legislative priorities. Can you talk a little bit about your top investigative priorities? And then I also wanted to see if Congressman Lieu actually might be able to talk a little bit, going back to AI once again. Are there any specific concerns that you're able to detail within the proposal, bipartisan proposal that was put forward? You mentioned that there are some reasons that you didn't think it was a good starting point. What are those reasons?
On the oversight and accountability piece, we've talked about this before. We have to lead with an affirmative message, make commitments, develop legislation and the policy that will help make people's lives better. We cannot be, we also have to lean into accountability and oversight. This administration gives us a lot of opportunities to exercise our accountability and oversight functions. We are, what is very top of mind, what Americans are going through. And there are a lot of Americans who are concerned about the grift at 1600 Pennsylvania, how Donald Trump is enriching him and his family members, the actions that cabinet secretaries are taking. all of this deserves the energy and the thought of what Ranking Member Raskin and Ranking Member Garcia will put forward. They will be two important people in driving the oversight and accountability agenda that Democrats face. And that's what we're going to do. But we don't have the luxury of just saying we're going to focus on one thing. This country is in a cost of living crisis, and Donald Trump and his administration are exacerbating it. We will focus on all of that.
Sure. The commission released a statement saying that we believe the framework did not meet the enormity of the moment. So we stand by that statement, and I'll just direct you to what various organizations have issued. So you can look at statements from the AFL-CIO, the Association of Flight Attendants, the American Federation of Teachers, ACLU, Public Citizen, various AI safety groups, and the American Association for Justice.
Thank you. The feelings are very clear about the Bill Pulte appointment among Democrats here on the Hill. But I'm just wondering if you can address the concerns from a lot of members about failure to renew FISA in the context of we've got an active war with Iran right now. You've got all these events leading up to 250 in July and the World Cup, which begins very soon, all of which are pretty massive security endeavors in and of themselves.
FISA is incredibly important. We've talked about that before. It is the primary collection function that goes in the President's daily briefing. I respect that. I respect the intelligence officials who are carrying out the work to develop all of that material to keep Americans safe. You can honor the intelligence officials and uplift the work that they're doing and have respect for the work that they're doing and say what the President is proposing to lead DNI is terrible, and he is unqualified, and the statute indicates that someone has to have background in national security. And so Bill Pulte does not meet that threshold. And I would disagree with you because you said Democrats push back against Pulte. I mean, some of the quotes I've read, this is bipartisan. That people are saying he doesn't meet the criteria to hold this position. He is there for one reason and one reason only. He will do whatever Donald Trump tells him to do. And is that someone you want sitting shotgun with Kash Patel to look at secrets and to ensure the collection to protect our national security? That's not what I'm comfortable with, and so that's a posture we're in. But Donald Trump is the only one who can get himself out of this mess, and Leader Thune has basically said that. And we'll see. I know Speaker Johnson is at the White House genuflecting and trying to figure out what the president wants today, and we'll see what comes out of that.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Is there, follow up on that, is there anything short of Bill Pulte being out as the acting DNI that could get Democrats to yes on FISA 702 if you were to nominate somebody different that has qualifications and intelligence experience and the Senate starts moving on that? Would that be something that would get you guys to consider something with reform?
It's definitely a start. It's definitely a start. Look, pull back Bill Pulte, allow the individuals who were there within their line of succession to perform in the acting roles as they were previously to this appointment, and then nominate someone who actually has national security or defense background, and allow the Senate to do their business with advice and consent. So that's the path out of this. But you can't just put Bill Pulte in there and tell us pair him with Kash Patel and we're good. We have a working program. That's just not. Nobody in America thinks that that's a working program.
But if Pulte were to remain in the interim while the Senate's working on confirming somebody else, or does he have to be out of that temporary role?
Look, we'll see. That's a hypothetical. We're not there yet. Let's see what the president says about this. But Democrats both respect the work that the intelligence officials perform, and we understand the importance of FISA, and we don't trust Bill Pulte in this position. I think you can have all of those positions at the same time.
I had a question on FISA, but you answered it. But now I have a question on the World Cup, and I don't know if you've seen, but several people coming up from abroad for the World Cup have been denied entry, and they've been investigated extra ports of entry. And I was wondering, what do you make of that? And do you think do you have any concerns that, we haven't even seen the mass of people arrive yet? Or do you have any concerns about what we might be seeing in the next few weeks?
Yeah, we've also talked to tourism and travel and tourism industry folks, and some of the data that they shared indicated that people were, more likely to go to Canada and Mexico World Cup matches than the U.S. I hope that doesn't transpire, and I hope that the games are a success for everyone, for the players, for everyone viewing, for the safety and security of people who go to the games. But clearly, the Trump administration and their behavior and the punitive way in which they look at immigration policy is clouding their performance when it comes to giving visas. There was a Somali referee who was denied entry into the U.S. It's shameful. And this is supposed to be, a huge world event that comes before the Olympics, where we're going to have even more athletes and even more visitors come to the country. So I think this just shows, again, at the ineptness of Donald Trump and the administration in actually carrying on basic governmental functions. And we ask, why don't you trust them with FISA? Why don't you trust them with these things? They can't do basic things. They can't do the easy things. So why would we expect them to be able to guide us and lead us and build consensus on big things when they can't even do the most basic things? It's shameful, but that's exactly what this administration does. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My coworker sees that.